Hey everybody, welcome to another week and another episode of Lionheart Radio. I'm your host, Rick Alexander, and today I'm talking with my friend Tara Nicole. She is the founder of a training studio in San Diego called Thrive Fit. And for you guys who have been listening for a while, I had her on the show about a year ago, and we talked all about trying to be Insta famous and what it meant to try to make it in the fitness industry. What's really cool is now we look, we're a year later and she owns her own studio and she does a ton of modeling in LA, and she has like really grown her business. And the reason I wanted to have her back on is because she, more than anybody I've ever met, is really good at looking at professional development and then figuring out a way to apply it to her life. And so that's really what we talk about today. We get into like what it was like going from training in college on the side to owning her own space, and then also like how to deal with this sort of information overload that we all seem to be going through, because there's podcasts and there's YouTube and there's books and there's all of these different things. We have all of these ways. We have more information obviously at our fingertips than we ever have before. But the magic is like, how do we apply it? That's where you find the good stuff. Like that's where it's going to really benefit your life, because if we're not doing that, I mean, shit, we're really just entertaining ourselves, and the utility of that is only going to go so far. And so I hope you guys really enjoyed this one. I definitely had a good time recording it. Without further ado, on to the show. Just like hustling here and there. Yeah. And then what's been like super cool is if I followed like your journey, you're one of the few people I think I follow that's like you always seem to be on some professional development shit. You're always reading a new book or and you're like kind of like caught up with the latest. You're always listening to podcasts and reading. And then like here we are, I guess this is probably 3 years later, and you've opened your own space and like you've literally hustled your way from like side business to doing the thing. And so what I thought we could do today is talk about like what that process has been like, and like what resources you found that have been helpful along the way, and then also maybe get into some habits and stuff like that have helped you kind of become successful.
Okay. Yeah. So where do you want me to start? You want to take it like way back, or?
Well, let's go back to college. Did you know that you wanted to own a gym when you started training people?
Fuck no, dude. It was, I mean, I guess I was talking to my mom about it. Apparently she told me when I was little, when I was in like middle school, I said that I wanted to have like a training facility more geared towards sports, but for kids. I don't remember telling her that, but she swears I said that shit, so I don't know. But when I was in college, no, I was just trying to like make some extra. Well, I wasn't even making money then. I was just doing it for free. I thought I was going to be like Insta famous back then. And so that was more so the goal. I wasn't thinking like I didn't know, not to say I didn't know anything about business, but I wasn't thinking like, oh, I could scale this shit and turn it into what it is now. It was just like a couple of people like to work out with me. I'm just going to keep doing that. So yeah, I had no goals in mind back then. Like I wasn't, I didn't really think about goals and things like that. At least in that sense, I wasn't really thinking about all that in college.
Well, last time I had you on, I remember we talked about like trying to get Insta famous and what that was like, and all the different Instagram models and the fakeness and the realness, and we kind of talked all about that. But
that shit still applies. I still feel the exact same. I haven't changed how I think about 90% of this fucking bullshit ass fitness industry. But I'm over it. And I think back, like, what was that, like a year ago? I was probably like 50-50. Now I'm still just like, fuck this. I don't even care about the Instagram fame anymore, just because I don't need it. Like, I realized that I've gotten to this point without, I think I have like 3,000 followers or something. I've gotten to this point without being Insta famous. And I've also realized that people are full of shit. So like, you know what I mean? Like people say it all the time that I hear. They're like, oh, like if your followers don't amount to how much money is in your bank account or whatever, like who gives a fuck how many followers you have? So once I kind of let that sink in, I was like, who cares about Instagram and being Insta famous? Then it was kind of like whatever. But I can't go without Instagram. because my business is literally like 90% Instagram and then 10% word of mouth.
Yeah.
So it's like I need it, but I don't care about like how many followers I have.
So yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of people need to hear that because I think everybody when they get into business, like they, especially now, it is a big part of business, like you said.
Yeah.
But we conflate this idea of like a big followership with your bank account or with how your business is doing. And actually, like I don't feel like those things are very related at all.
No, not at all. And it's crazy. A lot of the people, like some of the business professionals I see, some of the podcasts I listen to, I'll go and I'll stumble across a new one and I'll go look at their Instagram. They have less than 10,000. Sometimes they have less than 5,000 followers and they're fucking killing it. So it's really starting to seem like all these people out here that appears to be like they're actually killing it or whatever on Instagram, they have hundreds of thousands of followers, like they aren't really doing shit. It's a small percentage of them who actually are with that big of a following. The rest are just like posers.
Yeah, I mean, we have less than 5,000 fans on Instagram, and we have over 20K listens. So per show. So
yeah,
well,
it was probably like just a nice like I just matured a little bit, and I kind of got over the whole Insta fame thing and all of that.
It's also kind of this idea, like, have you heard of the 1,000 True Fans? Yeah. So it's kind of like that. I mean, that's enough to carry you through, and
100%.
And so it's almost like however wide you cast your net is one thing, but like what really matters is the quality of the fish you're catching, I think.
Yeah, because it's like you have 20,000, but how many of those 20,000 are going to buy your training program or whatever the fuck you're selling? So yeah, over the Instagram stuff, I've grown up a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we have to at some point. Also, too, like, if you, like, when you start putting stock into that, like, about how you feel about yourself, like, it kind of fucking sucks. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. Like, man, Instagram. No more Instagram
Well,
stuff.
we've already done that episode, but if we look back at when you were in college, then what was that just kind of your job for getting through college? Like, is that what you were looking at it as, or what were you thinking?
Literally just I don't even know now because I nannied in college. Like I was chilling making money as a nanny.
Yeah, but you were training too.
I was training. I don't know, dude. I just thought it was just fun. Like it's still fun, but yeah, it was just like a good time. Like I got a lot of free shit out of it. I was working for Core Water and Suja Juice and all of that at the time, and they thought it was cool and they used me for their branding and that type of stuff. It was, I don't know, I had no business sense with the fitness industry with that game. Like none of that even occurred to me back then. It was probably like, I think it was more so once I graduated college and life just kind of hit me in the fucking face was when I was like, okay, now we're going to have to figure some shit out with like what I'm actually doing. Because at that point it was like, everyone graduates college. For me, I went to the University of San Diego. So, when people hear that, they just expect you to, graduate and have this sick job and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I'm not going to work for anyone. And I'm not going to be wearing slacks and a business suit every fucking day. And I was like working at Lululemon, stay classy for like here and there, and then like kind of doing my own thing and then working for like the juice brands. And it was like, okay, I'm doing too much shit and I'm not doing anything at all. So I need to kind of narrow it down and figure out like how I'm actually going to make a living and support myself doing what I want to be doing. So I think it was really like that first post-grad year where it was kind of just like, all right, now let's try and figure out this fitness stuff. But during college, I was just chilling.
Right. Well, what's interesting is in my book, I wrote about this idea. I think I called it insured defiance in the book. But essentially, like this idea that you need to like protect the downsides. So you don't like need to quit everything you do to just jump into the next thing. Like that you can build up your side hustle and then you can migrate over. But
I did it the opposite.
Well, and so this is what I was going to get at. Like that's something, if there's one part I could change in my book, I think it would be that idea because there's a lot of people that really does work for, and it kind of works for me too. But at the same time, I see so many people like there almost comes a point where you have to have your back up against the wall in order to be really good at something. It seems like.
Yeah, there's what's the dude from Shark Tank, the FUBU guy, Damon
John.
Damon, yeah, that's what his book is essentially about. Like, sometimes being broke is what's gonna make you successful and make you survive, because you have no other choice but to do like whatever it is you're trying to do. Which is like, I have a friend who's like that right now. He's trying to get into the fitness industry. He's trying to leave his full-time job, like in IT or whatever, and be a trainer. And my mindset, I'm like, just fucking do it. Like, you've been talking about this shit since I've known you. Here you are 3-4 years later and you're still working your little IT job. Like, just pull the trigger and do it. But I'm realizing more and more how rare that mindset is, to where people are like, oh, I can never just like quit. Like, what do you mean? I don't know how I'm going to do it. Whereas me, I was like, fuck all this shit. I'm just about to train and I'm going to figure it out along the way. So, but apparently not many people think like me. And it was funny because people thought I was crazy as fuck. And now people are like, oh my God, wow, it worked for her. Like, look at her now. I'm like, yeah, you fuckers. I told you.
Right. Well, I mean, let's be real, though. It's like incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh, 100%.
Like
It's
that
still
feeling of like,
uncomfortable.
fuck, what am I going to do? Like, I have to do
Yeah,
something.
no, it hurts. It's painful. I'm not even much of a crier, but I cried so much within like the last 2 years than I ever have my entire life. Like, and I'm talking like scrapes and falling down crying, like just constant tears, like, T, you're an idiot right now. Like, what are you doing? But I mean, I guess, I don't know. I guess you either rise from it or you don't. But for me, that was what I needed.
Yeah. So when you look at that process, when you decided like, okay, I got to make this work, and your back's against the wall, and then you're crying all the time. was that when you really dove into professional development, and you were like, okay, because that's something as an entrepreneur you figure out. It's like, I got to make myself better I got to level up in order to be successful at this thing.
Yeah. So, we're in 2018. In 2015, at the end of 2015, I read The Power of Habit. And that book was just like an eye opener. Like, holy shit. Like, all right, there's power in this shit. And so that was when I started reading books, but I was reading more so business books. Like, that was the first like self-improvement, like habitual book that I read. But then after that, for whatever reason, I just switched and I started reading like only like business and finance type of books. And then like mid 2016, I got a little bit more into the self-help, self-improvement type of books. And then, it was really last year, 2017 in July was when I actually started applying everything that I had read. So I went back and read some of the older books, that were applicable. And that was when I actually like took the time, like sat down and started writing out everything and actually focus on it. Whereas before I was just kind of like reading pages, like, and it kind of goes back to the Instagram thing. Like, I wanted to be like the cool, like, or whatever, like influencer type of person that, I was reading the books and I would just take a picture of it and then post it and blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't actually taking in what the books were saying.
Right. I think that's a thing, though. I think for like the professional development space, like when you go to conferences, there are shitloads of people that are like on information overload, but they're not doing anything. And it's like,
exactly.
It's easy. You read a good book and you're like, that's a really good book. But like, if you don't have a process to start putting it into your life, like, it's kind of a waste of time.
Right. Because I remember one of my friends, he picked up one of my books, and I'm the sticky note type of, the little side sticky type of gal.
Okay.
And he picks up the book. He was like, "What the fuck is this?" It's like, it looked like a little rainbow. Like, damn near every page in it was sticky note. And he was just like, "There's no way you're actually taking in all this information." I'm like, "I know, not at that time. That's why I put a fucking sticky note right there, because I'm actually going back to all of this relevant information that applies to my current situation, and I study it over time." So it's like, I may only truly get through like 5 books a year, but those 5 books is like, that's all I fucking needed. Whereas most people, like, I follow this guy, he reads like a book a week, and I'm like, bullshit, dude. Like, you're turning pages every day. You're not reading anything.
Right. Definitely not comprehending and applying.
Yeah, no. But that was probably, it wasn't the habit of reading the books. It was a habit of actually applying everything that I was reading, in them. Because I wasn't always a big reader, but I was fine with reading. Like, but now it's like I actually enjoy it and I can apply it, so I like it even more.
Mm-hmm. So is that your process? Is it sticky notes? Like, how do you go from book to application when you read something you think is useful?
Yeah, I usually, the sticky notes are just so I don't forget, because there's so many times you read a book and it's like, damn, that was good. And then you think about, or maybe you don't even think about it, but then a couple months later, you're like, damn, I think I've heard something like that before, but I don't remember. So it's just kind of like an alternative reference to where I can go back to it and look like, damn, that was good. I use a lot of that for Instagram, like Instagram captions. A lot of that is influenced by, and that kind of keeps my mind thinking about them. But as far as the actually like putting it into effect, it's just sometimes like a book, like your book. When I read that, I was like, fuck, I'm going to run a marathon. And then I went and grabbed my whiteboard and I wrote down marathon. And then I hit you up and was like, dude, help me train for it. So it's one of those to where if I read something, it sparks my interest enough to where I can apply it to something that's currently going on into my life, then I'm going to do it right away. It's not so much like I'm looking and searching throughout, like within books for something. It's just like whatever comes to me, I'm like, damn, I can use that right now. And then I go about it that way.
That's cool. That was another thing I've seen on your Instagram. It's like you almost have a vision board or something. Like you had like two columns, it looked like, on a whiteboard. Like,
Yeah. So I currently have 3 boards right now. So one of them is for the whole year. So I have a 2018 board.
Goals.
And I told 2018 goals. And I told myself, like, I'm going to put down 10 things or less on that board. I'm not going to touch it for the whole year. Like at that, so it's like whatever I thought I wanted to do in January, that's what the fuck I'm going to be thinking about all year. Within those, like each little bullet point, they've kind of veered and changed a little bit, but it's still the same original thought that I had like at the end of 2017. So I have that board. I have one big board that's all my current like ideas and activities and what I want to focus on, like super short term within like a month or so. And then I have like a kind of like a, I say like 3 to 4 months out board. That's just kind of like projecting everything that I would like to have done within that time period. And then like everything else is just pen and paper, just scheming daily type of stuff.
So right now we're almost halfway through 2018. How them goals looking?
Oh, I'm actually, the gym was the hardest goal, dude. And I did that within the first quarter. So after that, it was just kind of like, well, the rest of this shit is like, it's almost like if I don't accomplish everything else on my goal board, I think I have like 4 big ones left. It's kind of like, dude, you fucking suck. Because like I was able to do the hardest one, like the one that should have taken the most thought and energy and all of that within the first part of the year. So that was pretty sick. And then it's funny because the rest of them pertain to the gym. So like I had one that there's probably like a handful of gyms across the country that I follow and I've been following for a while, and I just like their style of training. I like how they market, things like that. And the goal was to actually go to those gyms around the country before I had my gym, just to kind of like take mental note of what all these different places were doing, and then I could apply it to my own gym. But like I said, I got my gym within the first quarter of this year. So now it's like, I'm already thinking like, I don't even want to do it because what I'm doing right now is working so well that I kind of just want to keep it going until, not to say until it doesn't, but I don't know. But I mean, overall, I'm looking pretty solid on some. I'm already thinking about like 2019 goals.
Yeah. Okay. So that's, a lot of people need to take stock in that. It's like this idea of like having a vision board and doing it. It's like, I feel like I get really, I don't know, like bummed out or whatever, but like this motivational culture is just like, I'm fucking way over it. Like the, like just quotes on Instagram and shit. Like some of them are so good. But it's like, I just feel like there's such a gap between like me saying some motivational quote and then somebody going out and doing it. So it's like, it's cool that you're like hands on the ground, like accomplishing goals, and like we're looking at the system on how that's getting done.
Yeah, it's just trendy. Like, I mean, it's just exactly what you're saying. Like, people, what's that one book? I refuse to read it just because everyone else has read, well, apparently has read it, or supposedly have read it, and then, like, they post about it. It's the one about, like, you are a badass, the one with the yellow
like
cover. Yeah, I do? Okay, well,
okay.
I don't know. It's just, but it's like, to me, that's like, ooh, like, everyone's gonna read it. It's like the Miss Basic book. Yeah. And I'm looking like, okay, all you guys are sitting here claiming that you've read this book and that it was so good, and boom, you're a goal crusher now, and then you've yet to do anything about it. So it's just like one of those things where everyone kind of wants to be trendy, but they're not actually going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And so, because even now, like, I kid you not, I don't have a lot of people come over to my house. Like, I'm one of those people, like, I'm weird about people being in my personal space. But, you know, some of the friends that I have had come over, I literally have my shit projected. Like, I don't have a TV in my entire apartment. I don't even have, like, a coffee table and everything, like, in my living room. My living room is literally just a couch and a big ass rug. And I use that as kind of like my mobility, like, laying out on the floor area. So I have, what is it called? An easel, like 3 big easels in my apartment. So when you walk in, you literally see these big ass boards. And I've had friends that have come in, and these are like close friends too. They're like, T, what the fuck is this? Like, oh, like they think it's a joke.
Yeah.
And then all this shit starts to happen and going well for me. And now, you know, kind of those same people are like, I want to buy myself a whiteboard, man. I should get a whiteboard. And it's like, yeah, you can do those things, but if you don't actually believe in what you're writing down, if you have no intention on actually sticking to the shit that you're putting on the board, it doesn't matter. So it still kind of all ties into people. And I don't know how to get people out of that. I'm not like a motivational coach or anything. I just think for me personally, with my reach, if I continue to just be vocal and open about my goals and how I'm doing things, and maybe that'll kind of get people going in the direction of like, okay, not only is she reading the stuff, but she's actually applying it, and maybe they'll do the same thing. But I don't know. I think it's just like anything else. It's just going to be one of those things that it's like a cool thing for social media that people aren't actually diving deeper into.
Yeah, well, that's what's cool about you specifically showcasing the journey. Because, like, I remember even after I saw your whiteboard, I was like, I have whiteboards. Like, I'm whiteboarding all the time. But I was like, dude, I don't have my goals anyway. What the fuck is wrong with me? It's like, perfect.
Yeah.
So I, like, went and
like,
did that.
I know a lot of people do it for, like, to-do lists, but that's why I said I use, like, just regular pen and paper for that.
Yeah.
Like, I can do that just every day. Because it's like, to me, I don't really do the whole to-do list because it's like if you got shit to do, you're going to get it done. You don't need to write it down. Like, I get, like, little reminders and stuff, but I've had people that it's like they kind of don't get it. They'll text me a picture of their board, like, ooh, like I've been listening to you, T, and then you know I'll hold it down, like it'll be on Instagram or something, and I hold it down so I can read it, and it'll be shit like go to the grocery store, like, okay, so it's a step. You got the board. You got some shit on it, but you shouldn't have to remind yourself to go to the grocery store, dude. Like that's not the goal of what we're trying to do here. So the number, and it's sad because I've seen that shit more than once. Like, do laundry. Like, you don't have any fucking clothes that smell good. Of course you shouldn't have to write down on a big ass whiteboard to do laundry.
Right.
Like, oh my god. Plus people's hearts. They try though. They try.
So if we look back at when you read The Power of Habit, when I think about habits, like it's kind of something like I think with Tim Ferriss, like he like really like he's always like, oh, I'm going to tease out the habits. It's like kind of become a buzzword. But I think like the really impactful thing about habits is this idea that it's not about, you know, a lot of people can get motivated for a week and they can do a shitload in a week and then they don't really do anything else. But like it seems like in my life anywhere where I've seen real results, it has always come from consistency. And that's what habits allow you to do. So when you looked back at that first book, like were there any habits that you started applying that you've kept all the way to today?
I want to say yes, but I think they've just kind of merged into other books and habits that I've found. Because the only one, I can't think anything off the top of my head right now from The Power of Habit that I did right then. But I read Brendan Burchard's High Performance Habits.
Oh, I've got that on my bed right now.
What was that? Last probably October, November.
Yeah,
And I still stick to a lot of what's in that book. So not necessarily the Power of Habit was more of just an eye opener of like, oh wow, like this is literally like how our brains are wired and why we do the things we do. It wasn't at that time. It wasn't like I'm going to do this stuff every day. That just kind of like it was a catalyst for everything else, and like got me into the self improvement. But yeah, I think how far are you in that book?
I'm in the first chapter or second chapter. I think I just started reading it.
I read the shit out of that book. I finished that book in a weekend, and I never do that, like from start to finish. Finished it in a weekend, and I started, and I think he says it like, you know, wait until you get to a certain point in the book, I guess, to start applying it. I was like, no, fuck that, dude. Like, this shit is speaking to me now. I'm going to start doing it right this second. And so the biggest things or habits that I do from that book are the two things you're thankful for, or two things you're looking forward to every single morning. And then 3 things that you're grateful for at the end of the day. So I call it like the little 2-3 ritual. That one, and then time blocking. Those are the ones that have stuck with me the most, that I'm still consistently doing. I don't have to think about.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. I mean, I haven't gotten into it yet, but I'll say, like, when I think about, I have like an adverse reaction to a lot of internet marketers, because I'm like, I just feel like they're trying to sell me some shit all the time and like not provide value. But out of all of those people, I think Brendan Bouchard is the one that, like, I've like done his High Performance Academy, like everything I've listened to from that guy, like he really does put out gold. Like if you go watch his YouTube videos, like there is like, seems like great information coming from that guy.
That's good to know, because I definitely unsubscribed from his email notifications, just because, how you said, like, I just feel like everyone's trying to sell me on something.
Yeah, and I mean, he is, but at least he's selling you value.
Gold, like it's good. Yeah, I think for almost every book that I've read, I've went and followed the author on Instagram, and it's kind of the same thing. Like I'll go check out their website, and it's like a funnel to a few of their other products, which I get. Like you got to make your money, and that's just how these things go. But after the initial book, I usually don't pursue any other like additional education with them, or seminars or masterminds like that, unless they're free. But usually when they're free, it's just it tries to segue you into buying their coaching or another one of their products. So, but maybe I'll check that one out then, since you said it's actually pretty solid.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, I worked through his like DVD series. It was really good back when DVDs were a thing. But what other books have you read in the last couple of years that really stick out, that have helped?
The Compound Effect, I think, was a Darren Hardy. Yeah. The Compound Effect.
What's the idea behind that?
Just it's kind of similar to like just why we do what we do, and how everything kind of builds off of one particular thing. And then what was it? Shoot, I can't think of it. Oh, duh, it's The One Thing. And I like and dislike that book, because that one's more so like focus on one thing at a time. Well, it's like one thing that affects many things. These books all kind of align. Yeah, they do. But that one was good to kind of hone in, like just focus on one like big thing, as opposed to like kind of how I was saying when I was in college, I was doing like 4 different things, but I wasn't doing anything at all. The One Thing, I can't think of the author right now, but that one was more so like pick your one thing, do what you can do to accomplish that one thing. Don't worry about all the other little things. And once you get that, then move on to your next little thing, make it your big thing, and so on. Those 3 are probably the biggest as far as like habits and goal setting and mindset go. But High Performance Habit is definitely number 1 for sure.
Okay, good to know. I'm gonna have to get back into that tonight. So if we look at your...
Oh, and then Your Best Year Ever. Sorry to cut you off.
Your Best Year Ever? Who wrote that?
Your Best Year Ever. I can't think of the author right now. Damn it, I should know that.
Okay, what's like the premise?
How to fucking just crush your year and stop being full of shit and saying, like, you know, like it was, I think he really pushed it hard towards the end of the year, to get people to pick it up before the beginning of the year. So probably, I think I came across it in December, but I think when I went and looked back, like the heavy marketing started in like November. But yeah, it just essentially breaks down from, I don't know if it's quarters. I don't think it might be quarters. But putting into action how you can actually accomplish your goals and what you're setting out to do within a year's time. Whereas like so many people push it back, like, I'll wait until 2019. I'm already halfway through, that type of thing. So that one was really good too. And those have all been within like the last like year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, cool. We'll link all those up in the show notes. So if you guys are listening to this and you're driving or whatever, just go later to lionheartrad.io and then click on this episode, and we'll have all of these linked up and where you can buy them. So
Shit, I'll add your book to there too. Damn.
you don't got to do that.
No, but like seriously, if it's something like that can get me to run 26 miles, yeah, it deserves to be in that because, whew, man.
Yeah, that's number.
I still think about that almost on it. Well, because my foot is still kind of, it's not 100%, so it's like I have to think about it.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that like, okay, well, I did it, so.
Well, and you went from zero running to marathon in 3 months, which is a lot.
I hadn't ran longer than 3 miles. It might have been like 4 miles in my entire life.
Yeah, and like I think we set it up to be as smart as we could based on like the time that we had. Like we leveraged everything we could. We leveraged biking, we leveraged lifting, all that stuff. But it's still like
it was solid.
There's no way.
Yeah, because I've never paid for a coach or anything like that before. I've never trained for anything like that before. So, for my first training program, I thought it was sick. Like it was spot on. So, kudos to you, sir.
Thanks. And so, it's a really good, it's a good example of a SMART goal, which is like, I don't remember, measurable something. I don't know, but
yeah, specific, measurable,
attainable, maybe
attainable, realistic, timely.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, when we talk about goals, like, that's something that I've seen a lot of people really fuck up is the difference between a goal and a wish.
My
right?
God, dude. Oh, my God.
Well,
yeah, and it's sad because I'm to the point now where it's like, the guy I'm talking to right now, for example, he's starting to catch on. He comes over enough. He fucking sees these big ass boards all the time. He's starting to get it. But it was the same thing. He went and wrote down his goals. And I'm looking at it's like, you don't want to be hard on people with this stuff because it's like any step is a good step.
Right.
At least they're taking the time to actually think about this, whereas they probably weren't thinking about it before. But then you look at the list and it's like, dude, those are not goals. That's just some random shit you're talking about. Like,
right. Well, okay,
it's
so
not a goal.
like, I mean, the big thing with a goal, like, I mean, acronyms aside, like, it's got to be, there has to be some quantifiable way to measure whether you were successful in that thing or not. That's what's good about a marathon or starting a business. Like your business, you literally own a new business space now. That's a measurable goal.
Yeah, honestly, I think you can eliminate, 3 of those letters, and if you just focus on when you're going to do it and how you're going to do it, that's all you really need. And more so focusing on when. Because you can be like, I'm going to run a marathon. Okay, motherfucker, when are you going to run it? Like,
yeah.
If you put emphasis on just those 2 things in general, I think people would be a lot better off than how they're just like, oh, I'm going to show more gratitude.
Right. Well, and honestly, I mean, and even if that's your goal, if you want to show more gratitude, having something like you mentioned earlier, like at night, I'm going to list 3 things that I'm thankful for. That's an actionable way to measure whether or not you're showing more gratitude.
Exactly. But that concept is just, I don't know if it's lost on people or they just literally don't know. Because I'm to the point now where it's like when I see these things, I'm like, that's not how you set a goal. I'm like, okay. But but it's like, who am I to be like, oh, you're no like life coach or whatever. So I'm just like, all right, you do you. Good luck with your grocery list. That's all that is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, any life coach, it's kind of just a made up thing. Someone's got a system and there's no fucking degree for life coaching. But if we look at, I don't know where I was going to go. I didn't mean to shit on my coaches right there.
No, you fucking like mic dropped just straight shit on.
Well, I think they're a good thing to have. Like, they're certainly an area.
No, dude, but I get what you're saying. Like, I know a gal. You, I'm not gonna say her name. You might know her too, but she's my age. Well, I think when she started this journey, she was 23. It was
life coaching.
Yeah, and I'm like, bruh, you're 23, dude. Like.
Yeah, well, okay, and so this is a thing, too. It's like, I talked about this a little bit in my book. It's like, even business coaches, there's a lot of business. It seems like there's a shitload of business coaches out there today that haven't actually started a business outside of being a business coach.
Yeah.
And you got to think, like, but what if I run into a problem that you haven't seen before because you haven't owned a business? It's weird. It's like, do you have to have done that thing, or could you be really smart in that thing without having done it?
No, I think you need to do it because when I first moved back here to San Diego last July, the first gym that I checked out, because I knew right away I wasn't going to work at a corporate gym or anything like that. I was looking for an independent gym. And the first one I found, the guy there, he was not a personal trainer. he was a businessman. He made that very clear, which is fine. I appreciated that he was transparent about it and wasn't trying to tell me how to train people, but he was. And that was the package he was selling. He was trying to sell me on being essentially a saleswoman and a trainer. But it's like, you can't tell me how to be a trainer. Like, do not touch that. But that made up more than half of his little program or package that he was trying to sell. So I think that happens a lot. Like, I have another friend, he paid $5,000 for coaching to be a trainer, and the guy he bought it from is not a trainer.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, so if we look at that, then if we look at being a trainer, do you have to have been an athlete in order to coach that thing, do you think?
absolutely not. But I think it helps because even I think it carries over to life in general. Being an athlete or being on any sort of team sport, team camaraderie type of thing, you understand how to work with people with different mindsets, with different backgrounds, different personalities, all that type of stuff. Whereas if you've never had that experience, you don't know how to work well with people. And it applies to anyone. Like, in the work, I don't know, I've never had like a 9 to 5, but if you have to sit in a room with people and work with them on projects or whatever you're doing for work, like, you're going to have to accept the fact that not everyone's going to be like you, and you're not going to like how they think about this and but a lot of people shut down when that stuff happens because they've never been put in those scenarios. Whereas, like, for me being an athlete, I didn't like majority of my teammates my entire life, but it's like you learn to deal with them and you learn to work with them because you guys are all working towards the same thing. So I don't think being a trainer, like, having that athlete background, like, you need it, but it definitely helps. And even so, connecting more, like, with your individual clients with, like, mindset. Like, if you have someone who is just, like, say, like, not to shit on bodybuilders, but, like, say you didn't do anything athletic your entire life and then all of a sudden you got into bodybuilding. That's cool. Obviously, you have the discipline to be able to transform yourself and your mindset and your body physically. But when shit gets real for your client, like, say you have somebody who, maybe they were a former athlete and they're trying to get back into it, you can't relate on any level, right? If you have not even, say your client is just regular average Joe and this shit is just hard for them, like, you can't relate to that struggle or the mindset that they have, being their trainer. So I think it helps, but it isn't, like, vital. Like, you don't have to have that background to hop into the training game.
Yeah. Well, and
But
it
it's
also,
definitely going to help.
yeah, I completely agree. And it's like if you have to have a little bit of responsibility as the athlete too. It's like, what level am I at, and then what level am I trying to get to? Because there's a lot of people, like the 23-year-old life coach. There are certainly people that she can affect. Like, there are people
Definitely.
that, you know what I mean? And so
Probably younger, but yeah,
right,
like, you can still reach people.
right. But like if you look at the hierarchy, the echelon of what you've done in your life, like if you're trying to get somewhere, there's certainly someone that's above where you are. It's like if you're trying to go to the CrossFit Games, like you don't want a CrossFit coach that can't do muscle ups, right? Because when you start failing, they're not going to know what the hell's going on or how to program it, how to get around it because they've never been there. Whereas that person that can't do muscle ups, there's certainly a lot of people that they could still affect and help. And so it's just like more like a call for responsibility from the athlete side or the person that needs a coach.
Definitely, yeah.
But I'm looking for a coach now, like in the business side, and so I'm like being probably too scrutinizing about all these things. But I'm like, it's like I talk to him, it's like an interview, and I'm like, well, okay, so I like give him hypotheticals. And
So do you think of like a mentor and a coach synonymous as the same thing, or no?
No. I mean, I have mentors and stuff, but
Okay.
like I'm like there's specifically like I think my business is at a certain level. I know the level I want it to get to, and I think that I need a coach that can give me. See, the thing about having the mentor relationship is that it's hard to expect things out of them. Like they can give you something. Like I actually want to pay somebody because I like am like I want you to help me deal with X, Y, and Z problem to help me get to this area. Mm-hmm. Whereas it's hard like. A mentor, like people that have taken the time to mentor me and help me out, I totally appreciate. I think it's completely necessary, but there's no expectation of what I can expect there. You know, and so I want to like be able to hold their feet to the fire, and I want them to fucking fire them if they're not helping me get the results I need. Basically.
I got you. I do that. That's a good point. I like that. I've never really thought about the difference between the two.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that everybody needs coaches in life. I mean, no matter where you are. I mean, Olympic
Yeah.
athletes have coaches and they're at the top of the sporting world, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm kind of on the same page right now. I already know the guy who I want to reach out to. I just don't know if that's something he does. And I mean, if it's not something he does, I'm sure if it's convincing enough, he'll do it. It's just like how much all that costs and whatnot. But he's living the lifestyle that I want to be living.
And for me,
And
that's everything. Like that's like
yeah,
what you have to decide on.
yeah. And it's not like I want to be him, but it's like how he's taken his gym and all of that, and he's grown. And I've only been following him for maybe 2 years, and he's fucking killing it. But he still has like free time, and he's traveling all over. But it's not like he's just traveling and partying it up. Like he's traveling and networking with people anywhere he goes. So yeah, I get you. Everyone needs a coach.
Yeah, completely agree. That's cool. So right now we are into the first quarter of you owning your business. Is it your actual training space? So is it for people that are looking to get into the industry? Is it harder than you thought it would be? Is it what you thought it would be?
To be honest, it's easier than I thought it was going to be. All of the hardships that have come with this gym have nothing to do with the actual training or the business of it. That makes sense. It's random shit like pest control and dealing with because I'm in like a little I don't know, I guess you call it like a strip center type of place. Dealing with my neighbors. I'm next to a fucking porn store and a liquor store. So
Are you?
if you can imagine the demographic of clients between those two, okay, and I'm training a young female girl. It's like just it's like stuff like that it's like makes it hard dealing with property management. Just kind of factors that it's like I kind of wish that there were more things that I had planned for that are going wrong or that are difficult for me. Whereas right now it's kind of like outside things that I didn't even think could be a problem for my business that are a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely, it's honestly been easier than what I expected it to be. And there are like little things like how I was saying earlier, like I'm probably going to have to find a coach or hire a coach soon, but I know with those things, it gets a little tricky because you don't want to just hire anyone. Like I'm not going to go on Craigslist, like looking for a trainer who knows nothing about like the system that I have here, how I run my classes and all of that. So like little things like that, but across the board, I haven't really, like nothing's really hit me to where it's like, fuck, like that was rough. Like didn't know how I was going to make it through that one. It's literally been fun. So, and I don't know if I just set myself up really well for that or if I just get lucky or what, but like it's been fun so far.
Well, I mean, part of it, I think, is because you built your reputation as a trainer prior to opening the space. So when you open the space, you had clientele. A lot of times, if someone's going to go, and that speaks to
Yeah,
the importance of like kind of having that hustle for a long time before you
definitely.
jump over. Whereas if someone just is like, I'm leaving finance and I'm opening a gym tomorrow, it's going to be kind of a bitch because you got to try to find
Yeah.
enough people to make your business work.
Yeah, and that's what I know someone out here that's similar situation you just described is happening to them where they were kind of doing a little bit of everything and it wasn't within the health and like fitness space, but it wasn't exactly what they're doing now. And they opened up a space and it's crickets like,
Right.
and it's just kind of like, oh, you didn't really think that one out I mean, and I guess that works for some people. Who am I? But for me, it was literally like I took what I was doing at the previous gym I was at, renting space, and I just brought them over into a new space. And then from there, it just allowed me to build because I outgrew the space that I was at. That was the whole problem, and how I kind of had to push things and get to this space that I'm currently at now. But I already had everything set in place to where it was like a smooth transition for my clients. We were literally on the same street as the gym that we were at before. So I'm not even a mile away from where I previously was. So it just made everything a lot smoother of a transition and clients liked it and well, they love it and all that. So yeah. It's definitely got to get your shit together first before you
Yeah.
try and
Well,
hop into things.
yeah, I mean, that's something I probably, that's like the number one caution I always have to people when they start their business is like to tamper expectations at first. Like, I remember you get these romantic ideas. You're like, I have such a good idea for a business, and when I launch it, like you just think that like the people are going to be kicking down your door to give you their
Yeah.
money, and it's just not that way. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
when I launched Lou Aviv, my supplement company, when I finally like made the post, and if I look back, it was a real bullshit post at the time. Back when I thought borders should be around pictures in Instagram.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I launched it, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like nothing, like literally
Any
nothing.
day now, they should
Yep.
be hitting me up. I'm waiting
Yep.
for it.
Yep. And I was like, in the next 48 hours, I think I sold like one thing, one like tub of supplements. And I was like, yeah, but
Yeah.
everybody said it was cool. Like,
Yeah,
fuck.
right. They were all supportive until you start asking for the money, and then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree to an extent. Like with the gym, yes, you really gotta have your shit together. But if you're just looking to get into personal training, then it's like don't just do it.
Yeah,
If you
just
have
start
somewhere
doing
to train, but it's like we're talking about because the thing with the gym, it was heavy initially to the startup costs where you're dropping thousands of dollars all at once for like the equipment and all of that. That was where I was kind of like, ooh, are we sure we sure how long these clients going to be sticking around? That type of thing. And that was I think the only time that I've been cautious, but that lasted for like 30 minutes. I talked to my dad on the phone. He was like, dude, it's a no brainer. So I was like, oh shit. Okay. Yeah. Let's do this and fuck all that. But I mean, I think it just depends on the extent to which you're trying to do things. If it's something big, yes, maybe slow down a little bit. Think about it. Make sure you have all your shit in order. But if it's little, like just go for it.
Yeah. So, if you don't mind sharing, like, how did you decide to do it? To get that initial startup capital? Did you save up? Did you take out a business loan? Like, did you get an investor?
I got an interest-free loan from my father.
Oh, nice one.
So,
Perfect.
yeah, dude, because it was, I'd say my startup costs were about in total 23 grand. He gave me half, and like I said, it's interest free. So obviously I'm going to have to pay him back, but he's not knocking on my door every fucking month. Like, where's my money? It's my dad. So, and I really wanted to get that straight with people because I think I've never had people see me as like, like a rich or like spoiled kid until the gym happened. Like people automatically assume like, oh, somebody must have bought it for him. Looking like, no, motherfucker, like, I had some help, but damn, everyone gets loans for something, especially for business. Like not many people are just gonna, unless they already were successful or whatever else they were doing before, not many people are just gonna drop their own money on something like of that nature. So that was it was kind of weird how that worked. Like I had people that, only a few straight up asked me like, dude, did your parents help you with that? Like, did your dad bought you the gym or what? But a lot of them, they just kind of insinuated that like I didn't do it on my own. I still like to think that I did this on my own. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like he just gave me a gift of some money and it's done. Like I got to pay this fucker back.
Well, yeah. I mean, the hustle was sold separately, right? I mean,
yeah, 100%. So, yeah, that's how I went about that. It was just the easiest way. Cause I mean, fortunately, like my parents, we're not broke or anything, but we're not like loaded in money either. But like, thankfully my dad was able to help me out with that. And I kind of knew he was in a position to help me, which was the only reason why I reached out to him. But other than that, like it was a no brainer on how to fund this place and get it going quickly. So that was the easiest way to go about it.
damn. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, and I think that's important for everybody to recognize and know is that like, even when you're self-made, like there's so like it takes a village.
Well, I
Like
read that quote before. Like, no one is self-made, and they were like, people that claim to be self-made are full of shit because everyone has had help from it. And it doesn't have to be like they made your career for you, but everyone receives help in some sense. Like, no one,
right.
no, like, you know what I mean? Not no one, but very rarely are people 100% self-made. And I think that's like, I don't know. It's like the cool thing. Like, I don't know why people are like, don't want to admit that they've had help or
Right.
like,
Well,
is it like an ego thing or what? I don't know. I feel like it's most men that are like that, but
yeah, I mean, of course, like you wanna think like I fucking did this, but like you Yeah, I've told this story a bunch of times on my podcast, probably too much, but like I wrote my book over the course of like 10 years because I was like learning different things. And there was an entire chapter called Be Self-Made that I had to throw the fuck out because by the time I got old enough to like actually publish the book and stuff, I'm like, you would have to be such an arrogant son of a bitch to
Yeah,
think
be
that
like,
you
I
did
did
it on
that.
your own.
That was all me. Yeah,
Right.
no, people are full of shit, dude.
Yeah.
I know one person that's like that. He's full of shit. And I know him personally.
Great.
Fuck it.
So the Lionheart kicker, we're not going to do because we've already done a Lionheart kicker with you before. But for this one, what is one action that you could recognize or that you could recommend to somebody today to start moving toward their ultimate goal?
Write it down. Like, and not just some bullshit like I'm going to have a gym. Like, or it can be that way. Write it down and stare it in the face every single day.
Yeah, write it where you can see it.
Write it where you can see it. I did the mirror thing for a while where I used a dry erase marker and would write on my mirror.
That's what I do.
Yeah, but it got to the point where I wasn't really looking at that. I was looking past it, like looking over it, you know?
Yeah.
But for whatever, like for me, the boards work. And I think a lot of people just don't think about what they actually want to do. Like they have this idea like, oh, this would be a nice goal. But then they don't, that's all. Like it just kind of fades away into their memory. So I think for people to just write it down, make it big. It doesn't even have to be like huge or anything. Like you don't need like this big ass whiteboard, but write it down and actually put it somewhere to where you're going to not only see it, but think about it constantly. That's probably... Yeah, it's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, that's good because, I mean, like life, it's just not static, right? Like, I mean, you're moving towards something no matter what. If you don't write that shit down, if you don't like vocalize and see what that picture is that you're moving toward, then I mean,
it's probably going to change. Like it's fine for it to change, but as long as you have some ideas in your head churning based off of that one thing that you started with, I think that's all that matters.
Yeah, I completely agree. T, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to Lionheart Radio. I hope that the information from today's show will make you fitter, happier, and healthier. For the show notes of this episode and every episode, head to www.lionheartrad.io. Yep, just like Lionheart Radio. And please, if you have the time, head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us to know that we're on the right track in delivering you reliable information and value. As always, feedback is welcome. If you have any comments on the show or like to suggest a guest, send me an email at rick@luavive.com. That's LUAVIVE.com. Thanks for your support, and we will see you next time.
Bitch, I feel good. Don't I look stupendous? My shine is so endless, and shit you can do to end this. Even when I'm dead, niggas still gon' bump that chip shit. Coke, white, Escalade on cinches for you dipshit. So you won't forget this. Midwest nigga be the coldest.